My wife and my brother had a baby behind my back. When I refused to pay for it, my mom showed up at my work, screaming that I was ruining everything. It all started with the unexpected news. I had been happily married to Anna for 5 years when one evening she told me that she was pregnant. The news initially shocked me because we had been cautious, and frankly, I didn't expect a child to come so soon, especially considering how much we had been planning our future. But, despite my surprise, I tried to be supportive. I was ready to adjust, ready to embrace fatherhood. However, as the weeks went by, Anna's behavior started to change. She became more distant, and I began to notice things were off. She'd disappear for hours, leaving me with vague explanations about errands or needing some time to herself. At first, I chalked it up to the stress of pregnancy, but deep down, I started to feel that something wasn't right. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the unease lingered. Then, one evening, I walked in on a conversation between Anna and my brother Jake that left me cold. They were laughing together, but there was something about their interaction that felt different from the sibling relationship I had always known between them. My brother, usually so casual, was speaking in a tone I had never heard before, affectionate, almost too familiar. When they noticed me, they quickly changed the subject, but I knew I had just witnessed something that I couldn't ignore. I tried to shake it off, but the feeling that something was off only grew stronger. Then, a week later, I discovered the truth in the worst possible way. I found a document hidden in Anna's purse. It wasn't anything incriminating at first glance, but as I read through it, my heart sank. It was a hospital record for a pregnancy test, and the date on it was far earlier than I had known Anna was expecting. But the name on the record wasn't hers, it was Jake's. The world felt like it was collapsing around me. How could they have done this? How could my wife and my brother betray me like this? The questions were overwhelming, and I felt like I was suffocating in my own home. I confronted Anna that night, demanding the truth. Her face turned pale as I held up the record. I didn't want you to find out this way, Anna whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I demanded answers, and that's when she told me. The baby wasn't mine. The baby was Jake's. She had been having an affair with him behind my back for months, and she was pregnant with his child. My brother, the one person I had trusted above all others, had not only betrayed me, but had ruined my life in ways I couldn't begin to process. In that moment, I felt like I was drowning. The person I had loved for years and the brother I had grown up with had both lied to me, and now they expected me to accept it. Anna tried to apologize, but I couldn't hear her. All I could hear was the silence in my head, the deafening silence of betrayal. I spent the night in shock, numb to everything around me. How could this happen? How could I have missed the signs? But what hurt the most was the realization that Anna and Jake had made their choices without considering how deeply it would destroy me. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was completely shattered. After Anna's confession, everything seemed like it was crashing down around me. I couldn't stop replaying the conversation in my head. My wife, the person I thought I knew, had been lying to me for months. And my brother, the person I trusted the most, had betrayed me in the worst way possible. The shock was overwhelming. I couldn't focus on anything. In the following days, Anna kept apologizing, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive her. The pain of knowing she'd had an affair with my brother was too much. She kept asking for another chance, promising she would do anything to make things right. But nothing she said could take away the betrayal. When I confronted Jake, I could hear the guilt in his voice. I never meant for it to go this far, Aaron, he said. But it happened, and now I've ruined everything. I couldn't find the words to express how angry I was. How could you do this to me? I demanded. You and Anna? My wife? My brother? There was silence before he spoke again. I don't know how it happened. It was a mistake, but I want to fix this. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. A mistake? That was the excuse he was giving me? The weight of everything hit me. I felt betrayed, not just by Anna, but by Jake too. He had been my best friend, until now. I needed space. I isolated myself for a few days, avoiding them both. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how deep the betrayal went. Anna wasn't just my wife. She was the person I had built a life with. And Jake, he wasn't just my brother, he was my closest friend, the one person I thought I could trust. Then, just as I thought things might settle down, my mom showed up at my workplace. Her face was red with anger, and she barged into my office. "Aaron, what's going on? Why are you doing this to the family? You can't just walk away," she shouted. I was stunned. "Mom, what are you talking about?" "You're tearing the family apart," she yelled. "Jake is your brother. Anna is your wife. You can't just throw everything away." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom, of all people, was here defending them? "Mom," I said, trying to stay calm, "this isn't a mistake. Anna and Jake have been lying to me for months. I'm not fixing this." She didn't understand. "This isn't just about you, Aaron. This is your family. You need to fix this. You need to help your brother." I felt my frustration boiling over. "No, Mom, I'm not helping him. He made his bed and now he has to lie in it. I'm done cleaning up after everyone." She looked at me with disappointment. "You're being selfish," she muttered before leaving. Her visit only added to my stress. I thought my mom would support me, but instead, she was pushing me to forgive and forget. I wasn't going to do that. This was about my peace, and I wasn't going to sacrifice that for the sake of their mistakes. The next few weeks were filled with tension. Despite my decision to distance myself, my family still didn't seem to understand. My parents kept trying to guilt-trip me into forgiving Anna and Jake, insisting that family was more important than anything else. But I knew better than to let them manipulate me into thinking that I should just forgive and forget. One evening, I sat down with Anna again. She had been texting me nonstop, begging for a chance to talk. I finally agreed, hoping that maybe, just maybe, I could get some closure. "I know I've hurt you more than anyone could ever imagine," Anna said, her voice trembling. "I can't undo what happened, but I want to make things right. I still love you, Aaron. I made a huge mistake, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this." I stared at her, trying to find any trace of the woman I had married in her eyes, but all I saw was a stranger. "Anna, you say you love me, but how could you betray me like this? How could you sleep with my brother and think that it was just a mistake?" Tears filled her eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her anymore. "I can't fix this, Anna. I can't just erase everything that happened. You and Jake have shattered everything I thought I knew. I don't think I can come back from this." Her shoulders slumped as she looked at me with desperation. "Please, Aaron, I'll do anything. Just give me a chance." But I knew deep down that nothing would change. The trust had been broken beyond repair, and no amount of pleading could undo what they had done. "I can't," I said softly, my voice filled with resignation. "I need to move on." She left that night, but I knew the finality of my decision was clear. I wasn't going to let them drag me down anymore. It wasn't just about the affair, it was about the years of manipulation, the way they had both taken me for granted. I had spent so much of my life trying to fix everyone else's mistakes that I had forgotten about my own needs. The hardest part came when I had to face Jake again. Despite everything, he was still my brother, and part of me wanted to find a way to salvage our relationship. But another part of me knew that wasn't possible. He had crossed a line, and that was something I couldn't overlook. When I finally spoke to him, his guilt was palpable. "Aaron, I'm so sorry," he said, his voice quiet. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never thought it would come to this." "I know you didn't think it would come to this, Jake," I replied, my voice shaking. "But that doesn't make it any easier. You slept with my wife. My wife. And I don't know how to look at you the same way anymore." Jake was silent for a long time before he spoke again. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right, but I know it's too late. I didn't know what to say. There was no magic word that could undo everything that had happened, no apology that could fix the years of trust that had been destroyed. I don't think I can forgive you, Jake, I said quietly. I wish I could, but I can't. That was the end of the conversation. I knew that my relationship with Jake was irreparable. We would never be the same again, and that hurt more than I could admit. But in that moment, I realized that I needed to prioritize my own healing and my own peace. I had been hurt deeply by both of them, and I wasn't about to let them continue to ruin my life. After everything that happened, I decided it was time to cut ties, at least for a while. The weight of the betrayal was still too heavy for me to carry, and I knew I couldn't heal with my family constantly pulling me back into their drama. I needed space to think, to breathe, and to rebuild my life, one step at a time. The hardest part was accepting that I couldn't fix everything. My mom continued to call, trying to guilt me into reconciling with Anna and Jake, but I had learned my lesson. This time I refused to let them manipulate me. I knew it wasn't selfish to take care of myself. It was necessary. A few weeks later, I received a call from my mom that I didn't expect. Her voice was softer than usual, and there was no anger or blame in it. Aaron, she began hesitantly, I've been thinking a lot about everything, and I want to apologize. I shouldn't have put so much pressure on you to fix things. I see now that you're right. You needed to put yourself first, and I'm sorry for not seeing that sooner. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of relief. My mom, despite her earlier outbursts, had finally acknowledged my perspective. It wasn't easy for her to admit, but it meant a lot to me. Thank you, Mom, I said quietly. I just needed you to understand that I couldn't keep sacrificing my happiness for everyone else's mistakes. The conversation wasn't perfect, but it felt like progress. My mom wasn't fully on my side yet, but she was starting to understand. And that, in itself, was a small victory. But what truly mattered was that I was starting to heal, starting to take back control of my life. I spent the following months focusing on myself. I started therapy to deal with the emotional aftermath of everything. I realized that I had been so wrapped up in trying to fix everyone else's problems that I had neglected my own well-being. I hadn't known how to live for myself, and now I had to learn. As I worked through my feelings, I also started to rebuild my personal life. I spent more time with friends, took up hobbies I had neglected, and slowly began to regain my confidence. It wasn't easy, and there were days when I felt like I was drowning in pain, but I kept moving forward. For the first time, I was doing it for myself. A few months after everything had settled, I got a message from Jake. He was doing better, he said, and wanted to know if I was open to talking again. He apologized once more, saying that he understood if I never wanted to speak to him again, but that he hoped we could eventually rebuild some kind of relationship. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't sure I was ready to forgive him, but I realized something important. Forgiveness wasn't for him. It was for me. Holding on to anger and resentment was only keeping me trapped in the past. I didn't have to forgive him right away, but I also didn't need to carry that anger with me forever. I'm not ready yet, Jake, I replied, but I'm open to taking things one day at a time. It wasn't the closure I had hoped for, but it was a start. And for the first time, I felt like I had control over my future. The days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The hurt didn't fade, but I started to learn how to live with it. I knew it would take time for me to heal completely, but the first step was acknowledging my worth and not allowing anyone to take advantage of me again. During this period, I focused on building a life outside of the mess my family had created. I spent more time with friends and really started to appreciate the support they gave me. Their understanding, their willingness to just listen without judgment, was a breath of fresh air. I felt like I had a new sense of purpose. Then one day, I received a message that I wasn't expecting. It was from Anna. I hadn't heard from her in a while, and when I saw her name on my phone, my heart skipped a beat. For a moment, I hesitated, wondering if I was ready to hear what she had to say. But I opened the message anyway. "I've been thinking a lot," it began. "I know you can't forgive me right now, and I understand. I just want you to know that I'm sorry for everything I've done. I betrayed your trust, and I will carry that guilt forever. But I've changed, Aaron. I've been working on myself, and I hope, one day, you can find it in your heart to forgive me." It was hard to process. In that moment, I wasn't sure what I felt. Part of me wanted to say something, wanted to respond, and tell her how much she had hurt me. But another part of me was just tired. Tired of carrying the anger. Tired of feeling the weight of her actions on my shoulders. I took a deep breath before responding. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, Anna, but I appreciate you reaching out. Maybe one day we can talk. But for now, I need space to keep moving forward." Her response was short, but it felt like the right thing to do. "I understand, Aaron. Take care of yourself." That conversation, though brief, gave me the closure I didn't realize I needed. It wasn't about forgiving her. It was about me acknowledging that I had a right to feel hurt, and that I didn't have to carry that burden forever. But my journey wasn't over. Even though I had started to heal, I knew the road ahead would still be long. My relationship with my family, particularly with Jake, was still up in the air. While he had made strides in taking responsibility for his actions, I wasn't sure if I could ever look at him the same way. Then, one day, I bumped into Jake at a mutual friend's gathering. It was awkward at first. Neither of us knew how to approach the situation, but eventually, we started talking. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Aaron," he said quietly, his voice full of regret. "But I'm trying to be better. I'm really sorry for what I did." I nodded, taking in his words. "I know you are, Jake. But I don't know if I can ever forgive you." There was a long pause. Jake didn't seem surprised by my response, and I think, deep down, he knew that it was going to take a lot more than words to fix our relationship. "I get it," he said, "and I won't push you. I just want you to know that I'm here if you ever want to talk." The encounter wasn't a grand reconciliation, but it was progress. I didn't know what the future would hold for Jake and me, but at least now, there was an understanding. We weren't going to be the same, and that was okay. Months went by, and the pain slowly became something I could manage. It wasn't gone, but I had learned how to live with it. I kept my distance from Anna and Jake, focusing on my own well-being. For the first time in years, I felt like I was finally putting myself first. One evening, I received a call from my mom. Her tone was different this time, less frantic, more understanding. "Aaron, I've been thinking," she said. "I realize I didn't support you the way I should have. I'm sorry for pushing you to forgive them. I know now that you had to protect yourself." Her apology meant a lot. "Thank you, Mom. I needed to hear that," I replied. The healing process wasn't easy, but slowly I began to move forward. I had rediscovered who I was outside of my family's drama. For once, I wasn't carrying everyone else's burdens. I was taking care of myself, and that was enough. Jake showed up on my porch one foggy morning, like a ghost from a life I had burned down. He didn't knock. He just stood there with a pathetic little notebook in hand and guilt stitched across his face. I opened the door, arms crossed. I hadn't seen him in nearly a year. "I'm not here to defend myself," he began, eyes low. "I just want to say it." I said nothing. Let him carry the weight of silence. "I ruined everything," he continued. "Not just you and Anna, but our entire family. Mom barely talks to me now. I see the baby, yeah, but every time I do, I think of what I did to you." His voice cracked on that last word. You. The brother he betrayed. The person he left to be torn apart by lies while he played house with the woman I trusted most. He handed me the notebook. You don't have to read it now or ever, but I wrote down everything, the truth, no excuses. I took it and closed the door. That was all. No explosion, no dramatic goodbye, just quiet. That evening, I read it. Not because I cared what he had to say, but because I needed to hear, in his own words, the damage he knew he caused. Every page was a confession, raw, ugly, and void of the delusion he used to hide behind. He admitted that Anna manipulated him emotionally, that Mom made him feel like the chosen son, and that he was too much of a coward to stand against either of them. Funny. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt done. Weeks later, I saw Anna at a gas station. She had the baby, my niece or maybe my stepniece, whatever twisted title fit. She looked tired, worn down. She walked past me without a word, just a small, subtle nod. I didn't return it. I didn't owe her closure. I owed myself peace. Mom eventually called. She'd been quieter lately, less overbearing. She never apologized for defending Jake, for calling me selfish, but her voice trembled when she asked, "Can we meet for coffee?" I agreed, and we sat across from each other. No war, no tears, just two people who had lost a lot and were trying to hold on to what was left. We didn't talk about Jake, or Anna, or the baby. We talked about my new job, her back pain, the weather, and that was enough. In the months that followed, life became simpler. Not easier, healing never is, but cleaner. I cleared out old pictures, stopped rereading texts I should have deleted long ago, and learned how to enjoy silence again. One afternoon, I walked by a photo booth downtown, the same one Anna and I had used years ago. I stared at it, waiting for the ache to come. But nothing hit. No rush of regret. Just a faint memory, like a song you used to love but don't need anymore. And that's when I knew I'd made it. Not above them, not beyond them, but through. They still live their story. I live mine. Ours intersected in fire and betrayal, but I rebuilt from the ashes. I still have the notebook Jake gave me. I don't open it. I don't need to. Because the only truth I carry now is this. I survived. Not just the betrayal, but the voices telling me to forgive before I was ready, to sacrifice for family, to stay quiet to keep the peace. Never again.